Well, every aspect of this entry of the players has been choreographed in great detail. The scene is beautifully set, the PA system dies away, and the latent noise of the supporters will rise now. Another significant step, surely, in the development of Major League Soccer. But one giant stride for those in Minnesota who have waited 40+ years for this moment. All set then as we count towards a moment of history. The first ever game at Allianz Field, the sparkling brand new home of Minnesota United, will have kickoff when we return. The Irishman Alan Kelly, who has taken charge of 2 of the last 3 MLS Cups. This, though, is his seasonal reappearance. He's had a couple of tryout games in the USL just to warm him up for MLS duty. But this is his first game since that big match in Atlanta more than 4 months ago. So a roar swirls around the stadium, which was 2.5 years in the making, many more in the planning. $250 million. Absolutely at the cutting edge of arena technology, and surely a benchmark for future soccer-specific stadiums in this country. Away we go. It is New York City FC who are wearing the darker kit today, and this is James Sands, who instead of playing in an anchoring midfield position is playing in the midst of the defensive line today thanks to a change of shape. Here's Ozzy Alonso, 33 now, the former Seattle man, who's brought a great deal to the Minnesota squad this year.
But think about the moment for him. 33 years of age, you leave Seattle. He didn't really want to leave Seattle, and now you're here opening up this brand new stadium. It's brought some life into a player that many people thought had lost a half a step.
Carlman sweeping it back to the goalkeeper, Vito Manone. It's Tajuri Shradi. And Maxim Morales, who's back from a calf injury today. And Team Castellanos with a miscue straight into the heart of the Wonderwall. There are stunning visuals around this arena, but that Wonderwall really does take some beating. It's at the south end of the stadium. It's behind Manone's goal. It accommodates 2,800 people, and it is built at the steepest allowable angle of 34.8 degrees. And it is what we now call not terracing, but safe standing. Here, who's impressed in his opening appearances after joining from Reims. Interested spectator today is the football administration officer for the City Football Group. In the centre of your picture there, Brian Marwood, who's been in the country for a week or so and is taking 2 more games after this. I assume that he's a little look at just what's going on at New York City FC at the moment and seeing if anything needs to change.
Well, I think what needs to change is whether or not they can compete. I think at times they've played well, but the fact is they've only won 4 of their last 21 games. And I think for Brian Marwood and the City Football Group, they want to see some level of progression today. I'm not sure the result matters as much today as it does with how they compete with this environment. John, in this kind of environment, you're going to learn a lot about your group of players, and I think Dominic Torrent and I think City Football Group will find that out today.
He used to sit in your seat, you know. He used to be my co-commentator, Brian Marwood.
For how long?
He lasted rather longer than you've lasted so far.
If you're going to tell me he lasted 3 games, then I might need to find a new job.
This is number 5. Here's Finlay. Quintero, and it was nearly, in fact it has been presented back to Darwin Quintero, and Rodriguez over the bar.
This Minnesota United team is completely different in 2019 because they've got some pace in wide areas. Romario Barr on the other side, Ethan Finley coming back from an ACL injury. But the big question mark for me is Angelo Rodriguez. How many goals can he score? He's going to do all the little things very well, but he's got to score 7, 8, 9 goals with the collection of goals they're going to get in wide areas. Great opportunity. That's a missed chance for Rodriguez up front.
Here's the Finn, Alexander Ring, and now Ofori. Matarrita. Castellanos, the defender is the New Zealander, Michael Boxall, and it's behind for a goal kick. Third season in Major League Soccer for Minnesota United, fifth for New York City FC. Sands.
See, that's a good spot from James Sands, and I actually like the way Sands is lined up today, John, because so much of what Minnesota United wants to do is give Darwin Quintero some freedom. So you're going to play with your two center backs in Rocha and Maxime Chanot, but now Sands can drop into the midfield if he wants to, like he did there, and then he can provide some cover for a team that has struggled to get results. I don't mind the tactical decision to play Sands as a libero, so to speak.
This is a day that's emotional for you, Taylor. Your father's history with professional soccer in this city. You were born in the Twin Cities as well. It's Quintero, and now Finley. Rodriguez chasing hard with Chanot. Metenier. Ozzy Alonso. Boxall to Mike Apara. Regush. Metenier. Finley with three waiting. And still they wait. Chanot with the header. Went bundling in, but Morales got the better of him. It's the captain, Ring. Anton Tinaho. Ofori. Matarrita.
But see, this is good for New York City, John. But this kind of environment, and you know the emotions are high for the home team. Take the sting right out of the game and possess the ball a little bit. You know Minnesota United is chomping at the bit, trying to get after you. They're going to be on the front foot. Keep possession here. Knock it around and take the sting right out of the game here on the road. I think a big part of that is this ability of James Sands to step into the midfield with possession, keep possession. Where's Alexander Ring? But this is a good little bit of possession here from New York City here on the road. See, now frustration settles in, and Ozzy Alonso with the silly foul.
Might be lucky to get away without a yellow for that. It'll be it early in the game.
It doesn't matter, right, John?
No, it shouldn't matter at all. It shouldn't matter at all. And indeed, Alan Kelly, as we watch this replay, is going to book Ozzy Alonso for that.
Yeah, see, this is good work here from New York City, and that's a frustration foul from Ozzy Alonso, Minnesota United. Absolutely no reason to come all the way over and hit Maxime Morales. Now, Maxime Morales has missed last week's game coming in, so Ozzy Alonso wants to send a message, but that's frustration settling in because New York City strung together, what, 7, 8, 9 passes.
Maxime Morales in a fair bit of discomfort down on the turf at the moment, being tended to by Kevin Christen, the physio for New York City FC. And that's a problem for a player in the hustle and bustle of the midfield engine room to be on a yellow card 7 minutes in.
Yes, and if you're Maxime Morales, that's exactly what you're thinking, because here you are 8 minutes into the game and you've already planted that seed that now Ozzy Alonso can't be the Ozzy Alonso of old. So if Maxime Morales can return in this game and find his legs and get into this, now his mobility and where he picks up those passes and spaces and whatnot, that's a difficult thing for Minnesota United's Ozzy Alonso.
certainly was an overly aggressive and rugged challenge. And in that area of the pitch, not really necessary. Sands. Morales, who is still holding the small of his back. And off goes Tinnerholm. And still the Swede. Tajuri Shradi is taking a while to pick himself up after he too became a casualty.
Yeah, but I love the way the front three have looked so far for New York City, because all three of them are now occupying those half of spaces. So the back four of Minnesota United's chasing shadows a little bit, little flicks and tricks. Now you get in behind. That's the one concern, I think, John, for New York City in 2019. Without David Villa, they've had very few players up front be able to stretch the team vertically and open up those spaces underneath.
David Villa now playing in Japan. He's the top scorer in all 4 of his seasons with New York City. 80 goals in 132 games. Amongst your prized possessions in the Twellman family, a couple of your father's old jerseys playing for the Minnesota Kicks here in front of huge crowds in the 1970s, and no doubt today's shirts will be highly prized as souvenirs. Defending carried out here by Maxime Chanot. And the clearance from Sean Johnson. And the shirts that the Minnesota players are wearing on this historic day are specially stitched. Across the chest of each player, it says the fixture and the date, and of course the name of the ground.
That's what ESPN gave you on your tie with your first game with me, correct?
Just after they'd stamped the letters ESPN FC on my forehead, yes. Mario Ibarra pressurising Tinnerholm. Nonsense from Chanot. It's a corner.
I think set piece is a real issue for New York City today, John, because you've got Boxall, Apara, Angelo Rodriguez, even Mario Ibarra, and then Francisco Calva, and they're going to try and get after this zonal defending, but this is a real opportunity, I think, today for Minnesota United.
Up go the scarves, whirled high above the supporters' heads. Towards the near post it went. The leap was a good one. And
John, right there on cue, look at James Sands having a conversation with Alexander Ring. I think this is difficult for New York City to try to zonal defend this, because this is so much easier for an attacking player to gain that half a yard. You've got more momentum. Calvo doing a good job of winning that header.
He scored once this season in the win at Vancouver. 5 games on the road to start the season, whilst the finishing touches were applied to Allianz Field. And Adrian Heath says he would have accepted 7 points. He's got 9. Metania. Finlay. And again for the galloping Metania. Rodriguez. Ozzy Alonso scores the first ever goal at Allianz Field. To scenes of immense joy and a wonder wall of noise.
From the opening whistle, Minnesota United knew going down their right side that they would have some real freedom coming forward, because Matarrita, more often than not, is in those half of spaces that leaves the space in right behind him. So now Finlay, Metanier, they can combine, come forward, and a good ball in here, but you've got to react right now. Ozzy Alonso has to take a chance. He does, ball pops out. And how's that for a moment from a kid that made his name with the Seattle Sounders? But here in Minnesota United, they have welcomed him with open arms, and he has changed the mentality and leadership of this team. Great opening goal here at Allianz Field.
The sweetest of volleys. And no evidence of opening day nerves for the hosts here. Ahead in next to no time. And more problems for beleaguered NYCFC. Matarrita looking for Castellanos, who went over and then looked round at the referee. And NYCFC players run to the referee and say that he should have been considering giving a penalty there. The analog scoreboard you saw with the old clock, reference to the NASL days, the nearby National Sports Centre in Blaine.
I think there's a video review check right now. Alan Kelly had his hand up to his ear. He's got his hand up to his ear right now. They're checking the play. The ball was whipped in, and I thought Boxall came in late on Castellanos, and the check comes back no foul. And I don't think Castellanos completely was knocked down in that moment from Boxall. I think that's a good no call.
VAR today is Silviu Petrescu.
Right, and this is the ball being whipped in from Matarrita. And look at Boxall and his hands on that. No, that's a good no call.
And if you'd been the one tumbled over inside the penalty area,
that would have been a penalty.
Exactly.
Of course.
Fickle doesn't cover it, does it? Quintero. And there are two waiting. Finley's not even marked. Maybe Quintero might have released it earlier.
I think so, but how about that defending 1v1 in a difficult spot from James Sands?
Morales, Tajuri Shradi, Libyan international. Morales, one cap for Argentina, blocked by Ozzy Alonso. Tinaho. Heath said yesterday that the plan was to knock New York City out of their usually polished and considered stride. There is a way that they like to play the game. It goes right through the City Football Group. All 7 of the outlets around the world, including Manchester City, they like the same style. Here's Castellanos, and it's 1-1. And that didn't take long for the necessary response to arrive. Round about 3 minutes.
No, but this is the 3rd time early in this game that the goal kicks haven't been taken with any real purpose. And so now this ball floated in from Boxall. That's a bad giveaway. But watch this flick right here. Great touch from Castellanos. But that's the 3rd time New York City's gotten an opportunity, because Minnesota United has been sufficient enough on a goal kick, playing out of their end. Great touch from Castellanos. We pictured him at the beginning of the game. Only 1 goal in his last 710 minutes. And our target goalpost cam confirms it. New York City right back into this one.
First goal of the season, just his 2nd goal for the club. He did so just as we were talking about the network of clubs that the City Football Group has. And he's a good example of how they intermesh, in that he came from a Uruguayan side, yeah. Deportivo Torque, which is also a Manchester City or Abu Dhabi-owned club. It's nice to have the drum beaten, but the noise in here anyway is considerable without artificial help. Rip-roaring start to the game here at Allianz Field. This is Tinaho. Metanier. Give and go didn't work out. Ofori finding Maxi Morales. And Castellanos and Tajuri Shradi. 2nd time of asking. And Manchester City's feeder club, their junior club, taking a leaf out of the senior team's book. 2 in the space of 2 and a bit minutes. And having trailed, New York City FC lead
This is the most important goal for New York City in a long, long time because they finally got some players to stretch the back line. Great little run from Castellanos. How's that for a first touch? But now you stretch the back line, and what's a product of that? Now the space opens up underneath. So this touch here, Ozzy Alonso does anything he can, and Tajuri Shradi scores his second goal since September 1st of 2018, and what a big one it is. New York City up 2-1 on the road.
There'll be some moans and groans from the Minnesota United fans who are here for a celebratory day, but in terms of the neutrals and Dome Terrain and those backing New York City FC, highly satisfactory period of 3 minutes, in which first Castellanos equalised and now Tajuri Shradi has given the visitors the lead, which is something they've rarely enjoyed on the road in recent times. And just 2 of their last 12 away games. Morales. Tajuri Shradi. Trying to feed Matarrita. It's a foul by Ofori.
There's a ton of space, though, in the midfield for Minnesota United, John. Alexander Ring takes one touch. He plays right by. Then Gregush and Alonso are chasing the game. You know, I think a big thing what New York City's trying to do is they're trying to force Minnesota United to play a little bit more direct by high pressing. But it's the midfield right now of Minnesota United that's struggling.
The goal scored by Valentin Castellanos was New York City's first in 224 minutes. But now they're vulnerable at the other end. It's Ethan Finlay and it's Rodriguez. And this sensational start at Allianz Field is extended to a 4th goal in the opening 20 minutes of the life of this brand new arena.
Minnesota United again going down the left side of New York City. Ethan Finlay almost playing as a complete winger, sitting on the touchline. He's in behind Tony Rocha. Matarrita's left in no man's land. One touch here, picks up his head, and that is a simple finish for Angelo Rodriguez to give Minnesota United back into this game.
4 goals in 7 minutes. And we're back where we started, all square. There is a check on this, though. Alan Kelly not yet allowing the restart.
And I'm wondering, was Ethan Finlay in an offside position because he was so high up the field? But from my first couple looks at it, John, he looked onside to me.
And it is allowed to stand. Taylor, that stadium announcer might just start to annoy me before long. It's not exactly Michael Buffer, is it?
Plus, it's because the speaker's sitting right on your lap.
Yeah, it feels like it's in my head. There's Chanot, but it's all part of the vim and vigour of opening day at Allianz Field. Determined to put on a show. And Sebastian Salazar down on the touchline has just made a very valid point, Taylor. Does the analog scoreboard away to our left above the brew hall actually accommodate double digits? It's one in the face for Michael Boxall. There are 2 casualties here. Alan Kelly has decided, because it involves a blow to the head, quite rightly, an immediate halt to play. Boxall and Castellanos, those involved. Time to take a breath. Let's just more closely examine what the VAR was potentially looking at here.
Well, this is the first one, right? As Gregush plays this ball forward, Ethan Finlay looks from that point of view right in front of the assistant referee in an onside position. But then now you've got to look at where the ball is in line, and then this was checked as well. That's why you have video review. Good, 2 no calls. I do like what Minnesota United has done, though, John, and I think they missed it last year. Adrian Heath said it yesterday. While Ethan Finley may not be the most technical of players because of his threat of pace, always in behind, and his ability to play vertical. That opens up the space. So now Darwin Quintero can play underneath. He can find those spaces. Metanera's a right back, can take some chances coming forward. They missed that, and now they've got Kevin Molino on the bench. This is the first time in Adrian Heath's MLS coaching career, including Orlando City, where he's got 5-6 real decisions in his 11.
As the way he put it was that he feels that his squad, his roster, allows Minnesota United to be on a comparable footing for the first time in MLS competition. Talking there with Ian Fuller and Mark Watson, his assistant coaches. Michael Boxall requiring a little bit more attention to stem the flow of blood from his nose. Castellanos is across on the near side of the pitch and appears to be okay. Such an exciting start here. MLS on ESPN, presented by Audi. The Audi Player Index tracks every move of every match. To learn more, visit mlssoccer.com/Audi. Chance for a few words from head coach to midfield general. Darwin Quintero to stamp his scoring mark on this. Influential already. There'll be some that are here perhaps for the first time, although tickets were at a premium. Young supporters will be coming here for seasons to come, Taylor, and they'll be labouring under the misapprehension that every game's going to be like this.
Yeah, but this stadium, John, and this kind of experience, this community has always been here. You know, I remember my mom and dad, they moved here. My father was drafted by the Minnesota Kicks, and he came here, and he said if the Kicks never folded, I would have been born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But for so many years, this community, they knew soccer, they understood soccer, but they also understand an event. I mean, look at the fan cam we've got here today. We've pulled out all the bells and whistles. Halftime, you're going to be spending it at Brew Hall, trying 94 of the 96 beers on tap.
Yeah,
Second half should be fun with you.
Yeah, you might be on your own. There's two whose names I distrust up there. Old Thumper, and the most worrying one is called Over and Out. We're talking about the heritage of soccer in the Twin Cities, and there is a certain sadness that Miguel Ibarra isn't part of things today because of a hamstring injury. He's been a staple part of football in Minnesota since 2012. Seb Salazar has more on that.
To speak with Miguel yesterday, and he used the word devastated to describe the fact that he'd be missing this match. But you mentioned that 2012 season. They were the Minnesota Stars back then. They made it to the NASL championship game, and they lose in penalties in the second leg down in Tampa Bay. And they get in the locker room, and their then head coach, now sporting director, Manny Lagos, tells the team, thanks for the effort, but it's over. We don't have an owner moving forward. So for about 3-4 hours, Minnesota professional soccer was really on its deathbed. They get back to the hotel, and about 4 hours later, they all get called together again, and they're told there might be a guy. That guy, Dr. McGuire.
And the rest is history. A fairly glorious history as well. Darwin Quintero picking his way back to his feet, having been the victim of this lunge. She caught part ball, but part man.
It's been a quiet afternoon for Darwin Quintero, and I think at times he's been caught too high up the field, so it's made life very easy for James Sands and company to deal with him. I think if he plays a little bit more underneath Angelo Rodriguez, spaces will open up for him.
Ishmael Tajuri Shradi taking on Calvo. It's the battle of wits. Romario Ibarra relieved to have a free kick given. He was in a slightly tight corner. Any thoughts on how the pitch is playing? We walked on it yesterday, and it didn't appear to be entirely even in places.
No, and I think a big part of that is obviously the field was laid in late October, and then Mother Nature kind of screwed with them a little bit in that sense, and they struggled with it. But John, listen, they had how many inches of snow in the last 2 days? There's going to be some divots, but I'd give it 3-4 more weeks, and I think this field's going to be absolutely perfect. And I think it's a massive statement from Dr. Bill McGuire that when we can grow grass in Minnesota, I think everyone else in Major League Soccer, you can have grass fields.
There's still plenty of the white stuff in evidence. All the efforts of an army of volunteers and various bits of machinery that cleared it off the playing area itself. There's Ring. Not only as far as Ofori, Morales, now Metanier. Quintero. Across goes James Sands, the 18-year-old. Alan Kelly just going back here. I think he's still concerned about the blood coming from Boxall's nose. They've done their best to patch him up. They've not stemmed the flow entirely. He's more the look of a boxer than a footballer at the moment. Tajuri Shradi. Tinaho. Early for Castellanos. And Ozzy Alonso knew what he was doing. Perhaps slightly exaggerated the contact and earned himself a free kick. And next weekend we'll have two very attractive matches for you, both at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Saturday it's Atlanta United against FC Dallas, and then on Sunday we're moving across to the nation's capital for DC United against New York City FC. You can always watch both streaming live on the ESPN app if you happen to be out and about.
Massive game tonight for Atlanta. ESPN Plus, that's a big one because they're coming off a bye week, so now they've got an opportunity to regroup. I'll tell you right now, the moment this game ends, I'll be watching that one. But see, this is what I'm talking about, John. Where is Darwin Quintero in these spots? Yes, that's where you want to be, and that operating there, so now the game opens up.
And he plays Rodriguez in, and across comes Matarrita and makes a clean tackle. At the moment, Minnesota United still playing with 10 men. Boxall remains off the pitch. So they are defensively a little light. And this is Tajuri Shradi, and now Ebenezer Ofori trying to exploit that.
I just think this whole formation and system for Adrian Heath is set up for this man to find those spaces. So now Darwin Quintero finally gets to that 5-6 yards underneath your number 9, Angelo Rodriguez. And now that's going to open up the channels for Finley to run in behind, Romario Barro to run in behind, and even Angelo Rodriguez. But that was all about Darwin Quintero, the spaces he picked up, where he found that. And John, as we were running that replay, it looks like Boxall just came on with a new jersey with no number on the back.
Or else someone's spare t-shirt. It's entirely white, just with the sponsor's logo on the front. It's must. Thoroughly entertaining game so far as the curtain goes up at Allianz Field. It's one of 8 Allianz branded football stadiums around the world. The headline act, I suppose, is the Allianz Arena, the home of Bayern Munich. This one, although smaller, certainly doesn't pale beside it. Attention to detail is admirable. Certainly no suggestion that any corners at all have been cut. Unfortunately, it has hit the shirt budget, so they haven't got a second number 15 jersey. Sean Johnson, just a crazy moment, and players run towards him to comfort him because that is just a horrendous occurrence for a goalkeeper. There is just no accounting for that.
And since Sean Johnson has come to New York City, Patrick Vieira started it. It was all about improving his feet, and he has done so much so that he's back into the U.S. men's national team picture. But that's a moment he'll want to forget for the rest of his life.
They'll be hard-pressed to shake that off. That is just an anomaly. It's also a nightmare for a footballer who earns his living wearing gloves. It's Alexander Ring, who ran towards him to start with, and then James Sands, but it was a Fouri's back pass. And the likelihood is that it will go down as an Fouri own goal. Here's Gregouche. And I've seen some goalkeeping howlers in my time, Taylor, but that, I'm afraid, is right up there.
Well, the difficult part, John, is right before that goal, you're asking me about the field and the conditions. And when you talk to the Minnesota United players about their couple sessions here, they did say it was a little sticky. I'm not trying to make any excuses for Sean Johnson, but it's just one of those moments. And I have so much respect for Sean Johnson because throughout his entire career, he's had a few blunders that leave you shaking your head, and he had to overcome the mistake in Olympic qualifying, and he's had a good career on it, but he's made some mistakes that you're just shocked by.
Away by Apara. Now, officially, it's being given as a Sean Johnson own goal at this stage. Again, Tinnerholm. Tajuri Shradi. Matarrita. Well, I'm afraid it is painful to watch, but we do need to take another look. That's a Fouri's ball back.
Yep, and that's not on goal, and there is a touch right there from Sean Johnson. So scorekeeping-wise, that's fine. But technique-wise, I think that's where any goalkeeper around the world will watch this. Sean Johnson should take this with the inside of his foot. If he takes this with the inside of his foot, he takes that play completely out of the equation, because then it's played with outside the frame of the goal. Just one of those moments I want to forget.
Aberration. And of course, if you're Dome Turenne and there's an uncomfortable scrutiny on your prospects and where the team is going under you, it's just the last thing you can afford.
Especially, John, you're 36 minutes into a game in this environment. You're up 2-1. You've got 2 goals scored on the road. This is a difficult one to swallow, but on the other hand, it's kind of the way it's gone for New York City. Only 4 wins in the last 21 games.
Tinnerholm. Jan Gregouche. Ring. Fouri. Morales has left that short, and here's Darwin Quintero. Before he had a go at bringing him down. Space for Tinnerholm. Matarrita the most advanced. Here's Maxi Morales. Matarrita again. Tajuri Shradi.
I mean, both teams are having their way going forward, John. And where they're having their way is the moment they bypass the opposition's midfield, the front 3 or 4 attacking players for both teams, 2-touch passing, intricate movements. They're running circles around the back lines of both teams here. I mean, as the scoreline says, New York City's losing on the road. They've had their fair share of opportunities.
And the 2 sides who've attacked with brio would have shown plenty of defensive fragility.
You would have to think Adrian Heath and his staff. We haven't said Romario Ibarra's name once. And so while Ethan Finley's had his way going forward, we've seen very little from Romario Ibarra. So I'm wondering, with Kevin Molino on the bench, how quickly do we see him in the second half?
Quintero. Alonso out to Metanir. Maxi Morales. New York City side derailed. Sadly, all too memorable blunder from their last line of defence. Tinaho. Morales. Ofori. Ring. Joey Shradi. Ring. That's all. 50, 60 yards away. There's the loneliest man in Minnesota right now. And there's the gentleman who needs to talk to him at half-time, his coach, Rob Verteugen.
Well, Rob Verteugen's done such a good job, especially underneath Patrick Vieira, of getting Sean Johnson to understand how New York City wants to play and having a goalkeeper that can play with his feet. So that's going to be a difficult one at halftime. But, John, I think the bigger question for Dominic Torrent and his staff is with Ethan Finley running rackets, while everyone's going to look at Sean Johnson, Tony Rocha has struggled there. And that leads me to beg the question, if you're going to play three center backs, why isn't that Ben Sweat in that spot? Right, if Ben Sweat's a natural left back, he can cover for Matarrita a little bit more. But watching the first half, Tony Rocha's been chasing shadows a little bit because Ethan Finley's been in good spots.
And Ethan Finley's in a good spot now, and it's bumped over. It's a penalty. Given away by Matarrita. Tinaho races across to the far side to confront the assistant referee. Two New York City FC players have gone straight to the assistant on the far side to protest, because it was that assistant who raised the flag to alert the referee. And Alan Kelly is going across now to have a conversation with his colleague.
Well, it's this touch here. Ethan Finley gets forward right when Matarrita takes down Ethan Finley, the assistant referee out of your picture. That flag goes up. Now, there is part of the question right away with Tinnerholm was not about the assistant referee raising the flag for that spot. Was Ethan Finley in an offside position just ahead of this?
Well, Felicia Mariscal is the assistant on that far side. Alan Kelly, this most experienced of officials, in conversation with the VAR, Silviu Petrescu.
If I'm not mistaken, there was a ball from Darwin Quintero that played Ethan Finley in behind that started this play. And I think it's in this spot. Watch Ethan Finley. When this ball's played from Darwin Quintero, is he in an offside position? And the answer for me in that picture is yes. That's well done from video review, but more importantly from the assistant referee. And I think, John, that's why her flag went up.
Yeah. I
don't think her flag went up for the penalty. I think her flag was up initially to get Alan Kelly's attention that Ethan Finley was in an offside position.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the officials working well as a team to sort that situation out. So the penalty kick award chalked off, and it remains with Minnesota United ahead by the odd goal in 5. Penalty been allowed to stand. Quintero would have taken it. He scored 3 times from the spot already this season. If New York City FC had gone in at 4-2 down, it might well have been curtains.
We'll just go back to that offside spot. Darwin Quintero wins the possession here, and Ethan Finley's in behind. James Sands recognizes that spot. He holds his ground. That is in an offside position. That is also in the attacking phase of play. That's why video review can go back to that instance. That's good refereeing for me.
Yeah, agreed. Duluth native, denied the penalty kick he thought he'd won. Plenty to look forward to at half-time. In the Audi half-time report, we're going to take a special tour of Allianz Field, and we'll reflect on the other scores from the weekend so far in MLS. Calvo. Mario Ibarra. Calvo pulled up for foul.
But John, also a byproduct of Romario Ibarra not having a lot of touches is the fact that your experienced defenders, Chanot and Tinnerholm, are on that side. And that's why with Matarrita having the freedom to go forward and almost play as a wide midfielder and leave that space in behind, that still begs the question why Tony Rocha is playing in that spot. I mean, Tony Rocha even had an article a couple years ago where he said, I don't want to play as a center back. I don't have defensive tendencies. Now I know players evolve and they learn certain things. But Rocha came out as a midfielder, as center midfielder, even wide player. He played for Adrian Heath in Orlando. I think it was 7 or 8 games or whatnot. And when Adrian Heath saw the lineup, I saw him on the field before our pregame, and he looked at me and said, if Tony Rocha is playing in the middle, I need Ethan Finley to have the game of his life. He's had a pretty good 45 minutes.
Additional minutes to be played. Here's Ring. Took over from David Villa as skipper this season. Tajuri Shradi. Morales. Was offside. Beauties of this stadium is that the nearest seats to the pitch are only 17 feet away from the play, and even if you're at the back of one of the stands, you're within 40 yards of a touchline. The viewing lines perfectly worked out. It's 19,400 at the moment, Taylor, but there is easy work that can be done to increase it by another 5,000.
Well, and even that was done right, John, right? With the idea of expansion in the near future, they can expand next to the Wonder Wall. So even next to the Wonder Wall, it's only going to make that more dynamic. So they did everything right here. Including the food, by the way.
Yeah, I've got news for you. The official culinary consultant, yes, there is one, for Minnesota United, Justin Sutherland, has just visited our booth. And the smell of grilled shrimp is absolutely delightful. I wish we could fast forward to the next 3.5 minutes.
Well, he was going to give us mac and cheese, but you ate it all pregame. Not all of it. You ate some of it. I'm still not on your good side yet, am I?
No, you've got a way to go. Tajuri Shradi. Gregush. Romario Ibarra. Emerging through the shadows. And winning a corner.
That's so good from Alexander Ring, because New York City was broken down, and you need your leader, you need your center midfielder to cover up the spaces, because Romario Ibarra got in behind Alexander Ring, coming up with a big play heading into halftime here. Ike Opara has made a living in Major League Soccer in these moments. Keep an eye on Ike Opara with this zonal marking from New York City. He's free. If that ball gets up over the head of the captain, Alexander Ring, keep an eye on Ike Opara here.
It's not going to reach him. Delivery was not perhaps the best. Some position ebbs away. Manone now. probably worth pointing out that there is a sort of unofficial goalkeepers union, and probably the most sympathy that will be shown to Sean Johnson at half-time is maybe by his opposite number, Vito Monone, who's had some fairly catastrophic moments on football pitches himself over the years. Tajuri Shradi. Matarrita. Apara having to readjust. Into open space for Finlay. And James Sands just had the edge. Sum up the half for us, Taylor.
More than I expected. I thought this with New York City and their backs against the wall, with their manager questioning the future and them struggling to get results. I thought they were going to come in here, sit in, defend. I did not expect a wide open game. You knew Minnesota United was going to be up for the moment, but John, I did not expect to see 3-2 heading into halftime. And yet, New York City has had maybe some of the better chances.
First half of many opportunities and much entertainment.
But do we see Matrica here come in at halftime? He's dealing with a rib injury. He's unfit to start the game. Does he come in? Does Herbert come in? You know, they've got a couple options on the bench.
Apara with a stately header away, and that brings to a conclusion a bonanza of a first half at Allianz Field. 3-2 to the hosts. Open up and swallow him whole during his career, and I'm afraid today's is right up there. And it is by that blunder, by that moment of aberration, that the home side, Minnesota United, have the lead. There is a substitution to report at half-time. Tony Rocha has come off for New York City FC, and he has been replaced by Alexandru Matrica, the Romanian. He wasn't fit enough to start. He's carrying a rib problem, which is restricting his breathing on occasions. He wasn't deemed capable of managing 90 minutes today, but he's going to do 45, and he has a rescue mission to associate himself with. Sebastian Salazar has been in conversation with Dome Turan as the players came out. Seb, what did he have to say?
Yeah, he told me he's going to have a system switch here. They're going to go into a 4-2-3-1. Of course, Matrica come on, and expect Matarrita to hold back a little bit more down this left side. He was very concerned with how much damage Minnesota United were able to do down their right flank in the first half.
Here's Quintero. Immediately on the front foot with Findlay, and Matarrita guides it behind for a corner. So that pretty much bears out what you were suggesting was going to happen, Taylor, towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, you just knew that Tony Rocha and Matarrita were not in a good sync. They were not in line with each other, and Ethan Finlay had his way. So now Matarrita, who's dealing with that ball off his face here, he's going to play more as a left back and a back four. James Sands will slide in. But I love this move. If Matrica is healthy enough to get after this team, and the way Minnesota United defended in the last 25 minutes of that first half, they're going to have opportunities in New York City going forward.
Here's Quintero. And one opportunity that was presented to him spins away, out of play for a goal kick.
I think the other part of this, though, John, is Maxi Morales will be even in a better spot playing in front of Alexander Ring. And so now Ozzy Alonso and Grey Goose will have to deal with Maxi Morales playing a little deeper than he did in the first half.
Matarrita, Castellanos, now Matrica. Purchase from Universitate Craiova in his homeland of Romania. Tajuri Shradi. Castellanos. Tajuri Shradi was taken down having played the ball, and it's going to be a free kick. Alan Kelly, the referee today.
I don't think there's any argument whatsoever. Calvo coming in late. Tajuri Shradi trying to play into the feet of Castellanos. And now a dangerous set piece here for New York City.
New York City, who trailed early in this game to Ozzy Alonso, who scored the first ever goal at Allianz Field. 7 minutes later, the visitors were 2-1 in front. It didn't last for long. And now Minnesota in the lead for the second time in the game. Morales, headed by Rodriguez. Do you think we see more caution now? Do you think we see more control in the defensive play of both sides? Do you think we see less fragility?
I do think you see a little bit more control from New York City, because I think the formation and the change of that formation fits them more, with Mitrita coming in here. My bigger concern is Adrian Heath going in at halftime. Speaking with our Sebastian Salazar, I just am a little surprised that Minnesota United at home was so stretched out, particularly in the midfield.
Alonso. By Quintero.
It's been a sloppy afternoon for Darwin Quintero for his standards and for the standards he's set for himself so far in Major League Soccer. He's had 3 or 4 really bad giveaways and some sloppy touches.
Metanire. Oh, did he go over the top of the ball, or did he get the ball? The referee was happy enough, I think, with the challenge. Morales is taking issue, though. Dangerous territory when you go hunting a ball like that.
Yeah.
Bundesliga experience, Alex Ring. Miroslav Mönchengladbach. Margarita. Aparo. Morales. Mitrita. Pushed out of the way by Gregush. Inches taller than him. Mario Ibarra. Metanire. Actually hit his own man, Ethan Finlay. What's a realistic ambition for Minnesota United now that financially things are more favourable for Adrian Heath to actually spend money on his roster?
Yeah? I think the playoffs in this year, now looking at the next, I'd say 24 months, that's asking a lot of Ozzy Alonso and a couple of your older players. But for 2019, I think it's playoffs or bust.
Tinnerholm.
Keep in mind too, John, it's also with that slow start from the Portland Timbers that works in Minnesota United's favor, winning 3 of their first 5 games on the road.
Now 9 of their next 12 are here. Matarrita. Having to do with the spin of the ball. Ring. And Calvo guides it out to Darwin Quintero. Quintero, who Adrian Heath says is one of the most talented players he has ever had the good fortune to manage.
But if I'm going to be critical of Quintero, John, it's still inconsistent for me. A player of that technical quality, I still find there are games like today where he's not invisible, but the touches he has, there's sloppy giveaways. He doesn't seem like to be completely comfortable in his role within this system, and that's why I was pleasantly surprised, if I'm a Minnesota United fan, at Adrian Heath last week at the New York Red Bulls playing 3 in the back, changing the system. He's always been 4-2-3-1. He's loved that. But I think with the influx of attacking options he has in 2019, I think he can be a little bit more flexible with that system.
Mitrita. Had a nibble. Here's Ring. Morales. Time for Matarrita, and no one goes to challenge. Ring once again. Gregush couldn't gather it in. Tinner home. Maxi Morales. And out in the nick of time came Vito Mannone.
There's a balance to the way New York City has looked in this second half, John. I think the system, the change they made, bringing in Mitrita, now moving Matarrita to left back. Maxi Morales is now having some freedom to come through the midfield. There's a balance to New York City that we didn't see in the first 45, and they look to be up for the challenge, especially when you bring in arguably your most technical player in Mitrita coming in a wide left area. The problem, though, John, is they don't have a number 9.
Nope. Side. That's Valentin Castellanos.
And that's the one thing I don't think I've done a good enough job of looking at New York City. But if David Villa is healthy on this team, are they only winning 4 of the last 21? I don't think so.
Yeah, if he's healthy and maybe a couple of years younger, I just got the feeling, I know that his stats were considerably down towards the end of his tenure, but he just seemed to be on the downslope.
Absolutely. But if you've got a number 9 that can put the ball back in the net, is that struggle a little different under Dome Turan? I think there's a good argument there.
Quintero. Rodriguez. Rodriguez is having a frustrating time of it. He and Adrian Heath feeling he's not getting a fair rub from the officials. Sounds. Ring. Morales. Every time the ball goes near Sean Johnson and he's required to either stop it or clear it, the crowd are at him, reminding him of his moment of aberration. Well, the appeal there from New York City is that that was a push by Boxall, but Alan Kelly says no, just a coming together. MLS on ESPN is presented by Audi. The Audi Player Index tracks every move of every match. To learn more, visit MLSsoccer.com/Audi. Rodriguez.
See, I think this look of New York City in the second half has to force the hand of Adrian Heath. Now the question is, do you bring on Kevin Molino from Romario Ibarra? Or do you maybe shore up the middle of the midfield because Maxi Morales is now playing in there with Ring and Ofori, and maybe that is a Kazmir Schuler, so to speak, or whatnot. But if Schuler comes in, then you would have to think Darwin Quintero will take Romario Ibarra's spot.
Castellanos raiding through the middle, knocks it round the goalkeeper, and Boxall can't get there in time. They're claiming that a hand may have been used to knock the ball down, but it is 3-3. A goal greeted by near silence around Allianz Field.
There's a balance to this team that just looks more comfortable. Now Manone coming off his line, he's in absolute no man's land coming off his line in that spot. And now the question is on video review is whether or not there was a left arm used from Castellanos in this spot. Does this ball hit Castellanos underneath the shoulder right now? The first look from that angle is no, but I think this ball hits Castellanos in the bicep, and I think that might have been a handball, John.
Yeah, different angles tell different stories, but there did seem to be a movement of his arm towards the ball at one stage.
Absolutely, and the bigger part is, where does that ball hit Castellanos in the arm? Does it hit him in the left shoulder, or does it hit him in the bicep? He's going to video review. Now that look right there that we just saw, John, he dips the left shoulder down. Is that a shoulder? Is it clear and obvious? Yeah, that for me, there is a look. That for me is the left bicep. That is not the shoulder. That for me is a handball. Right now, where does that ball touch his arm? That hits below his shoulder. For me, that's a handball.
And a very definite movement towards it. And Alan Kelly has decided that it was the upper arm, did not come off the shoulder. And so now the protests start in response to that from New York City FC, because it's not 3-3, they still trail. And the response of the home side, who've been under the cosh a little, is to take off Romario Ibarra and replace him with the Finn, Rasmus Schuller. So today, when the VAR has been busy, and the VAR has been particularly useful in maintaining some air of justice to proceedings.
But if there's a positive out of this for New York City, John, they've shown that they feel comfortable in this formation, in this system. If Castellanos becomes that player, John, excuse me, if he becomes that player that stretches the back line and opens the game up, New York City's got a chance to stay in this.
Shano. Second half penalty chalked off, the goal disallowed through VAR. Here's Ring. Tinnerholm. Morales. That was ill-timed by a player who's just arrived on the pitch, Schuller.
Now, Schuller's coming into a difficult situation now, because now New York City is more comfortable. They're different than the way they were in the first half. And Ozzy Alonso, I think, needs to solidify this Minnesota United midfielder. And if I'm Minnesota United, I want Ozzy Alonso sitting in front of my two center backs and allowing Schuller and Gregush on the sides of him to cover up those spaces. But right now, Minnesota United chasing some shadows in the middle of the midfield.
Choice of Tajuri Shadi or Morales to take this. Oh, and Shano involved with Metanir.
Benone needs to be extremely careful here, John. Tajuri Shradi has had a great time in Major League Soccer in these spots with his left foot. Don't be shocked that this is hit on that back post.
Tajuri Shradi! It got a little touch, but it is Tajuri Shradi whose inventive free kick has caused the consternation that has led to an equalizing goal.
This was 100% the right decision from Maxi Morales for Tajuri Shradi in this spot. Angelo Rodriguez is caught way too deep defensively, trying to deal with the baby games of Chanot, and that ball whipped in with pace. It puts every goalkeeper, look at our target goalpost cam. You're in no man's land, because inside 6 yards, any kind of touch, a deflection off Calvo, New York City, the better team in the second half, they're in this one 3-3 on the road.
It may be that the tiniest touch came off the shin of Calvo, but it was on target anyway. Tajuri Shradi's second goal. And the game is tied up once again. And Adrian Heath has sent for his coat.
This is a dream for any attacking player. That is a dream. An in-swinging ball with pace. Look at Manone. He can't deal with anything. Calvo needs to be better with this. Our target goalpost cam is a great look at that. Calvo needs to be more convinced with that clearance, but great ball in from Tajuri Shradi.
Here's Rodriguez. And now Gregush. Quintero. Minnesota United's biggest issue these past 2 seasons, their first 2 at this level, has been conceding such a significant weight of goals. 141 in their first 2 campaigns. That total has now increased to 152. Until 11 in 6 games this season. They only kept 2 clean sheets in the whole of last season. And in their MLS history, which stretches now to 74 games, just 8 shutouts. Mitrita. Morales. And Castellanos will shoot, and Manone was rooted.
He's been active today, though. Castellanos has had himself a good afternoon. I talked about him in the open. In 710 minutes coming into this game, only 1 goal, 1 assist, but it's been his movement's been more dynamic tonight. He's been much more effective with that movement, because now it's opened up space around him. Scored a good goal in the first half. The touch layoff for Tajuri Shradi in the first half. And a little unlucky with the handball call, but it's been his movement that has been a real good option for New York City going forward.
Alonso is chopped to the floor by Ring. These are difficult days for Dome Torren. He's 10 months into the job. A significant dip in form after a promising start. They've only lost one game this season, and they are the only team to have stopped LAFC from winning. And here, they're fighting hard for at least a point. But here's Finlay. Couldn't deliver because of the attentions of Sands.
If not for Ethan Finlay in this right side with his relationship with Metner, I'm not totally sure Minnesota United would be in this game. James Sands doing a wonderful job of coming over and providing that balance, but Ethan Finlay being the only real attacking player from Minnesota United going forward.
An abundance of swirling scarves as Gregush takes this. Out only as far as Schuller. Deflection on that. Corner.
It's been disappointing today, though, has been the set-piece corner kick taking from Gregush. I came into this one feeling that free kicks, corner kicks, set pieces in Minnesota United's favor, but they haven't had good delivery whatsoever.
Gregush. It's a better cross.
This is great defending, isn't it, John, from Chanot? Watch this play, because Ethan Finlay gets in behind ring. Chanot's got to slide over. That's great defending. That ball's in the back of the net, if not for Chanot coming over.
Gregush getting plenty of practice at delivering. Into the head of ring. Retreats Morales, the two midget gems combining. Lunge by Calvo. Referee thinks about bringing it back, does now. And is disappointed with himself, because he had the chance to allow an advantage. He was perhaps over-eager to blow for the foul and to give a yellow card for Francisco Calvo. It's a clear opportunity just to take a breath and allow the counter-attack to unfold.
You came into this one, though, Alan Kelly doing the last MLS Cup. This is his first game of the year. This ball right there after that, he allows the play to go on, but then blows the whistle, which caught everyone by surprise, including Claudio Reyna and Brian Marwood.
Sporting director on the right in the blue jacket, the football administration officer for the entire City football group, Brian Marwood.
What did he say this morning? He was up at 2:30 in the morning to watch
Melbourne City.
Melbourne City.
Another of the 7 clubs. So they've got clubs, obviously Manchester City, New York City, Melbourne City. Also teams in Uruguay, in Japan, in China. And also in Spain, Girona. So he's got plenty to keep him busy, and make no mistake, he is for the, if you like, the satellite clubs of Manchester City, those that have sprung from the original club. He is the kingmaker. He's the one that calls the shots. Quintero. Afori. New York City making a decent fist of this. Morales. New York City looking for what would be their first win of the season. At this stage last season, they'd yet to taste defeat. Patrick Vieira was still in charge. Quintero. Not so far been his day. Matriza. Metenier.
It's our first time seeing Matriza live in person, and I'll tell you one thing, John, he's quick, and he's very good at picking up those dangerous spots. Capara being asked a lot of questions right now because Boxo's dealing with Castellanos, and this is going to be interesting, because if Herrera becomes the number 9 that they want and desperately need, You're looking at a completely different attack from New York City. I mean, he didn't come cheap, by the way. $8.5 million, right? That's,
yep.
Outside of Atlanta United, expensive.
Quintero. Home.
Well, good ball there from James Sands.
Minnesota United have been the team to watch. Their 6th game of the season, and those 6 fixtures have yielded 25 goals now. Calvo. Ring. New York City FC go to DC United a week tomorrow. That's live on ESPN. Under the double header. Also got Atlanta against FC Dallas next Saturday. Mitrita. Castellanos, Mitrita. And Castellanos again, and that's a telling lunge by Schuller. It's an injured player on the far side as Tinnerholm seeks to take advantage. It's Tajuri Shradi who is struggling. It is a corner.
Yeah, but again, it's combination playing off of Castellanos. You know, you've got to be effective. You've got to be very dangerous in the final third in order to have some impact to your team coming forward. And so much of this today has been off of Castellanos. And I've been very critical of his time in Major League Soccer. And maybe the numbers don't support his impact. But today, he's been very good in those moments. Quick touches in and around the 18, laying it off, stretching the back line. Castellanos has had himself a day.
Shradi requiring a little bit of help from the physio, Kevin Christian, in his recovery. Just a mention for the ball boys as well, a nice touch. They're all from the local Salvo Soccer Club today, which is run by the former Minnesota head coach Carl Craig, and we should tip our hats to him. Big part of the club's rise in the NASL days, and the originator also of the Wonder Wall. Here comes the corner. Header by Grey Goose. I know that Carl is somewhere in this capacity crowd today. No doubt enjoying himself and hoping that the crowd has cause to sing Wonderwall at the end, which is the way that the home fans typically greet a victory. Metanier. Ring. Castellanos. Away from Boxall. Here's Mitrita. Side netting.
Well, Mitrita owes Castellanos a beer after this one, because when you put on a show like this, he nutmegs Boxall, then plays him in here. Now watch, right as he takes on Icapar, that ball's got to be driven right across that 6-yard box. Castellanos, again, just doing all the little things extremely well, while also putting on a show.
Both sides on the point of making a substitution at the next break in play. Abu Danladi is coming on for the home side, and Jesus Medina for New York City. This is Metanier and Quintero. Who's an R's from the crowd behind the goal in the steeply banked standing area.
Yeah, but Alan Kelly needs to blow his whistle here if that's a head injury to Tinnerholm.
Kelly is inquiring as to Tinnerholm's state of being, and perhaps belatedly has decided that he does need to blow his whistle.
Substitution for NYCFC in the 77th minute. Checking in, number 19, Jesus Medina. Facing number 29,
So here is the cue for the NYCFC substitution. Tajuri Shradi can't continue. And so Jesus Medina is going to come on, and Darwin Quintero's comparatively ineffective afternoon ends early as he's replaced by Abu Danladi, who is quick, lightning quick. Product of the Right to Dream Academy in his native Ghana. Started and scored in the victory at New York Red Bulls.
Tonight's attendance is 19,796. A sellout. Thank you all for your support of NYCFC.
Probably caught that in the background. 19,796 is the official attendance on this first ever day of operation at Allianz Field.
But a dull second half, would you say, from the group?
I wouldn't say dull, I'd just say
Dull,
that
strong, but
anything was likely to pale compared to the first half.
Yep.
Now, challenge right on the edge, free kick given. Angelo Rodriguez was trying to persuade the referee that actually it was inside, but I think Alan Kelly got it right.
the biggest reason why they got rid of Christian Ramirez for Angelo Rodriguez were in these moments, his ability to play with his back to goal, to allow them to play out into his feet. He's not going to score as many goals as Christian Ramirez, but he's going to do the little things. Remember last week against the New York Red Bulls, both goals coming off playing into the big man's chest, having the runners in and around him. Good set-piece opportunity here for Minnesota United in front of the home crowd. No Darwin Quintero, so this looks like it's Grey Goose.
Not have quite the finesse of the Colombian. Still be effective though. It is Grey Goose, and it's a good save by Sean Johnson, who is in atonement mode at the moment.
And where this ball is, 19 yards from goal, it's difficult for any free kick to get that up over the wall. Our target goalpost came. Sean Johnson fundamentally in a good spot, easy save.
So Grey Goose taking all the set pieces.
Icapar is going to get an opportunity once in this game. Keep an eye on him here.
It's Ring. Schuller. And it was Danladi. And now it's Maxi Morales. Alonso. Calvo. Slipping away from challenges that were fired towards his ankles. Metania. She's still kept it within bounds. And here's Danladi. Three waiting. Up comes Grey Goose.
Oh, this is unbelievable from James Sands. Danladi with good combination play, but as this ball pops out, it was actually James Sands and Alexander Ring, but James Sands coming up massive in front of Sean Johnson here.
Grey Goose blowing hard, looks up at the wonder wall. They look down on him. The referee, I think, is checking something. I'm just wondering whether they're looking at whether possibly an arm was used to block that by Sands, but I don't think that's really an issue.
No, I didn't see it either, especially because his arms were in his body, and I don't think he made any intent to move that arm towards the ball.
Grey Goose. Para just beaten in the air that time. But both players on the floor, and the referee quite rightly intervened straight away this time and immediately signals medical support.
This is not what you do. This is not what you do right now.
And the concern evident, both from officials and supporters.
And this is going to be difficult for anyone to watch, but Icapar is going to come in here. That's a nasty head-on collision. And remember, Ike Opara throughout his career has occasionally wore some kind of headgear. For Sporting Kansas City, he wore some headgear, but this is, you know, and you're listening to me say this is not what you do. The last thing you do with Castellanos coming over here, you saw New York City players coming over, trying to move the player. You do not do that. But this is where the sport, soccer, football around the world, John, this is where there could be some real growth. Because now, here you are in the 83rd minute. And now you're asking teams that have made subs because there's no head injury sub law in the game. So now you're actually making decisions not based on players' ability, but you're actually taking players' lives into the equation with head injuries.
Castellanos was first to his feet. Opara rather more uncertain and clearly unable to continue. And Carlman, the veteran, is getting ready to come on down below us already. Brent Carlman, the 28-year-old, grew up locally in Woodbury. And he's onto the pitch now in place of the unfortunate Opara. And although it ended in an unfortunate way, that was probably as close as Ike Opara has actually got to getting on the end of one of the many set pieces today. Sure. Finley. Sands. Ring. NYCFC making a decision on Castellanos at the moment.
I'm going to lose a tangent here in a minute. This is well done.
Metanier.
From the medical professionals of New York City, because they convinced Dominic Torrent that he needed to come out.
Calvo.
Example of why you can't just have an independent doctor without the individuals from each team having a say in this, and that is exactly how you handle the situation. The player comes off the field, but the manager should have no say. And Castellanos went to midfield and said he was going to go in, and that athletic trainer and their medical professional and personnel went over to Dominic Torrent, said under no circumstances he goes in.
And so we have Hebert instead, who's a player we've not seen much of yet. One substitute appearance last week. He only joined the club 3.5 weeks ago. He's a Brazilian striker. Rodriguez. And a corner for Minnesota, which is a routine we've been through now 9 times in this game. Five in the box, 1 just outside for the home team. Gregush. Just flicked off Hebert, so it will be a throw to Minnesota United, if they can find a volunteer to take it. From amidst the debris of wintry weather. Findlay. Calvo.
New York City just seems a little vulnerable right now on set pieces. A long throw-in, little flicks on, but so many numbers from Minnesota United have come forward, and over the last 2 or 3 set pieces, you've seen little cracks in this New York City defense. Minnesota United unlucky to capitalize.
Morales. Matriza onto Matarrita. Tinnerholm. Medina. Hebert. Didn't get as far as Maxi Morales, who's now down on the floor. Slowly picking himself up again. Matarrita. Carlman. Schüller. Referee thinks that Matarrita threw himself to the floor. Danladi. Rodriguez. Ethan Finlay. No one to cross to at the moment. Calvo arriving. Shano away. Metanier. Gregush. Schüller turned into the tackle. Morales. Open ground ahead of Matarrita. Hebert has pulled away in the centre. Medina in support. Alexandru Matarrita.
What a save from Manone, but what Brent Carlman is doing there, I have no clue, because you are a center back, you've got all the numbers in the back, because you leave that area and try for the hero tackle. Now it opens up the game. Matarrita's trying to stick one on that near post. But my word, that game opened up very quickly because Carlman left his spot at center back.
Ebenezer Afori is a late arrival for this. Tinaho. Dominant header by Coleman. Morales. Minnesota switching off slightly there. Schüller's defensive header. Gregush. He's going to come straight back at Minnesota. Metanier. Rodriguez. It was actually won by Sands, levering his leg around the Colombian striker. The official Rubiel Vasquez fiddling with his electronic board down below. 6 extra minutes to be played. A lot can happen in that time. Comfortable save. Ramone from Medina. Rodriguez. Just brush Sands off. Gregush. Schüller. His countryman Ring picks up possession for NYCFC. Locates Morales. Hebert. Ozzy Alonso diligent as ever. Really suffered from that early yellow card after just 7 minutes. Matarrita. So this wonderful new sporting theatre open for business for the first time today. And most dramatic productions have a final twist. We've got 4.5 minutes. Danladi. Tinaho goes down, touching his head. So Alan Kelly obliged to call a halt.
But Danladi was, it looked like he caught Tinnerholm just underneath that jaw, but that's the hard part about this. Now the referee's having the conversation with Tinnerholm. Either you got hit in the head or you didn't. And so this is part of the problem, right? With head injuries and whatnot, the referee handled the situation absolutely perfectly. But the problem is, John, is that now if players understand that if you just go down and hold your head, so now this is why the issue is so complex.
Alexander Ring, the captain, is the one doing the majority of the finger pointing as peace is restored. Ozzy Alonso having his say. How he would have handled it, which is obviously a very different perspective to that of the match official. He's just putting his finger to his ear as well. Maybe there's a check going on here. Possibly as to the nature of any perceived violent conduct.
Yeah, I think it was the conduct after the whistle was blown between Alexander Ring and Ozzy Alonso.
Well, Alonso has to be particularly careful because he's on a yellow already. Back underway, but feeling still running high. Alonso is left on the deck by Ring. And Finlay is battling back to try and make a challenge, which eventually he did. It perhaps put Ring off, and it scuttles through to Manone. Shano. Ofori. Hebert. Gregouche. Well, Dome Turenne is up off the bench, leaping on the touchline in disbelief.
I think he has a good argument there.
Could easily have gone the other way. Rodriguez. And Kelly says get on with it. And Hebert does. Can New York City find their first win of the season right at the end here? It's Matrica. He's allowed to run a long distance. Metanier. Finlay. Final minute of the first ever fixture at Allianz Field. And Minnesota United have a free kick. And it may be the final opportunity of this seesaw game. It boils down to this. Drums beaten a little louder, the scarves held aloft. Jan Gregouche with the delivery. Metanier. Danladi will go for it, and Johnson will claim it. And bowl it straight out to Tinnerholm. And because of that stoppage and the outbreak of scuffling, we will be going beyond that 6 minutes that were advertised. Ofori. It ends this way. It'll be a 5th draw in 6 games for NYCFC. Ethan Finlay. Medina. Ring can't afford to hesitate. Gregouche. And out by Sands, who's had a calming game for the most part. And at that point, the referee, Alan Kelly, decides that enough is enough. We've had a minute beyond the advertised 6. And there will be a modicum of disappointment for Minnesota United, who led twice in this game. It's another game without a win for Dome Turenne and NYCFC. And those on high were here to witness it.